As an interior designer, dealing with clients who change their mind often can be frustrating. So let's talk about some ways to minimize that and take leadership of your project. I know what it's like to have a client who's like can't make decisions and wishy-washy and goes back and changes their minds. And I know from experience that when a client is consistently changing their mind, it slows down the design process. And I know that when the design process drags on and drags on and drags on, your productivity goes down, which means your profits goes down, which means it takes a lot longer to get those final professional images to put on your portfolio and get that next client. So this is a really important conversation. There's two things we need to talk about importantly with this important conversation. And one is what to do right now with a client that is like, having trouble making a decision. And two, how to set yourself up for leadership so that in the future, this is not going on. Remember that when a client is struggling with decision making, likely it's because they don't understand how this micro decision fits in with the macro of the room. And what you can do is remind them of what the North Star is of the room. Like, remember, Sally, this room, we want it to feel friendly, inviting, and playful. So which one of these two chairs feels the most playful, inviting, and cheerful? Is that what I said? Which one of these two chairs feels that way? And that can often get the client to be like, oh yeah, this one more feels that way. Also, it's important to know why they keep changing their mind. Is it a budget concern? Then looking at the overall picture of the budget would be supportive in decision making. Is it a style concern? Then maybe looking at the overall picture of the whole house and the direction of style that you want will help them in the micro decisions. The other thing is showing them that wavering on that decision or going back on a decision can slow the project down or makes other things in the room have to change. For example, if you change the chair, then you got to change the table. And if you're changing the table and the chair, then you definitely have to change the wallpaper because now those colors don't go. And if you change the wallpaper, you definitely have to change the curtains. And if you're changing the curtain rod needs to be changed. And so, dear client, do you want to change that chair or do you like the whole of the room? The other thing that I want to bring into this conversation, and I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings and I hope it pings you into action, is that if they're wishy-washy on decision making, it is a likelihood that there's something inside of your leadership in the design process that gets to be strengthened. Now, the good news is that if there's something about your system that is creating a little bit of a problem, the great news is that you are also the answer to a solution. So let's talk about how you can take leadership in design to prevent this from ever happening in the future. What I have found in my 15 years of practice is that the most powerful way to support somebody in their decision making is when they can see the whole of the picture at every corner. What I mean is asking somebody to pick a chair before they've decided on the whole mood of the room can be a little bit unfair in the decision making process. How can they know that that's the right chair for them if they don't know how that impacts the overall design? So the first thing to do is to get them to decide on the mood of the room. Do they want the room to feel happy, moody? Do they want it to feel friendly or sophisticated? What's the mood of the room? Then once they've decided on the direction of the room, then they can decide on the style of the room. Once they then decide on the style of the room, then you can start getting them to understand the micro decision making in what's the wallpaper that matches that style, that matches that room. Showing them a few options in that direction can help them understand, oh, I definitely like that one. This bite-sized approach to an end result is a great way to have consistent checkpoints along the way so that your clients are gracefully guided towards an outcome. Another way to hold your client accountable to the decisions that they're making is having billable points attached to decision-making phases. In our office, once we do the mood boards, it's a billable point. Once we do design development, it's a billable point. So once they have paid once they have paid on a decision-making phase, then we all collectively know that that is a decision that is locked and loaded. In our office, another thing that we always do, and this is the way that we work and we will not work another way, is that we never pull a trigger on the purchase of anything until we have 100% of the purchase order in place. Meaning, before I buy a lampshade, I already know what every other purchase of that room will require. So the client knows knows all of the budget information before we buy that one lampshade. In our office, we have a template that we use for this process. It's actually a Keynote file, which is like PowerPoint. And in that file, we start with our guiding words is the first slide, the mood board is the second slide, a first stab at a sketch rendering is the next slide, and then the design developed rendering is the next slide. We show that entire Keynote presentation at every meeting. So even when we're doing design development and picking the fabric for that one chair, I still say, remember, dear client, that our inspiration words are these, our mood board is this, we've sketched this, and now we're developing a stylette's this, so let's look at this chair fabric selection. I'm reminding of them of the big picture all the way down to this chair fabric selection to support them in decision making. All right, here's what I want you to do right now for the most maximum amount of business growth. Like and subscribe. I'm dedicated to bringing you valuable information so that you can grow and scale your business. And if you hit that notification bell, you'll be notified every time there's a new juicy topic to talk about. And if you want to learn more about how you and I can work together one-on-one in my support of your business growth and systemizing and scaling so that you can realize maximum potential and profits, then why don't you book a call with me to see if my program might be a right fit for you. You can do that by going to thedesignershotline.com, which will take you straight into my calendar so you can grab a time slot with me.